It looks really great. After seeing him run and really just talking to him as well, he feels comfortable. He's still getting used to some of these cuts and certain, motions. But I mean, you're talking about 7 months since the surgery, so it's pretty impressive how quickly he's come back.
Lamar Jackson is due to hit free agency in 2023, and we all know that isn't going to happen. Lamar isn't sweating it either. He's focused on winning a Super Bowl, not worrying about a contract.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not really focused on that right now. I'm focused on getting me a Super Bowl. I'm focused on getting better. I'm focused on working with my teammates right now. I don't really, whatever was out there, put out there, that's what it is. I'm, like I said before, I'm focused on winning right now, trying to bring me a Super Bowl here.
What's up, Mike Garafolo, coming into the show? All right, Mike G, Lamar Jackson says he's not worried, but we are curious. What's the latest on his contract situation?
MJ said he's not focused on it, and usually that's the line that a player will use and say, hey, I just let my agent handle that. Well, you know what? Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. So, yeah, he's focused on it because he's the one involved in these negotiations with the Ravens. But when he says he's not focused on it, he's basically suggesting that he's not losing sleep over it, and that's not the main focus for him. And really, John Harbaugh was a guy who echoed that today, the Ravens coach, saying that it is a, quote, done deal that Lamar Jackson is going to get paid. Now, he didn't mean that the deal itself is done. He's basically saying everybody knows this contract is going to get done. Lamar is more focused on his legacy as a quarterback right now. So my understanding is the Ravens have a few orders of business that they want to get done before training camp. Lamar Jackson and his contract are number one on that list, and then the other stuff will kind of fall in behind that. So we'll see if they're able to get it done before the start of training camp, because Jackson in line to make $1.7 million this upcoming season. That is a very low number for a recent MVP, and we all expect it to be much higher with a contract extension.
Oh, that's wild, yeah, but no delegating for him with no agent. Maybe just a little further down on his to-do list. All right, Mike G, the NFL and the NFLPA agreed on updated COVID-19 protocols ahead of the start of training camp. What can you tell us there?
Yes, this is for training camp and the preseason. We're still waiting on regular season protocols, but hey, I'm going to give you the summary right now. If you're vaccinated, life is going to be a lot different for you this upcoming season. If you're not, life is going to be very similar to what you experienced last year. Masks and social distancing, daily testing you're going to have to undergo. If you're a close contact, you're going to have to sit out for 5 days, whereas those who are vaccinated will not have to sit out for 5 days. There are travel restrictions left and right. Basically, if you're traveling with the team, you've got to stay in your hotel room. You can't leave. You can't go meet anybody, whereas vaccinated players, they can do that. So the NFL is not mandating vaccines for players and employees, but they're making it clear if you're not going to take that vaccine, there are going to be significant restrictions on you, not only while you're at the team facility. You won't be able to get in the sauna and the pool in some cases if you're not vaccinated. The weight room, there's going to be limits on the number of players if there's non-vaccinated players in there. So they're not mandating it, but they're making it clear if you're not vaccinated and you're in there, it's going to be tougher on you, and it's going to be tougher on your teammates as well.
Not mandated, they're incentivizing, Mike. That's the word that we heard. Mike Garafolo, thank you.
There you go.
All right, Cynthia Freeland's analytics factor everything from rookies to road trips to recent acquisition. It's hard to comprehend, yes, but it's eerily accurate. And today, she's got win totals for every team in the NFC West, whether Cliff Averill likes it or not, and he won't. But first, Kyle Pitts was thought by many to be the best prospect in the draft, not named Trevor Lawrence, and quite possibly the best player in the draft, period. Coming up next on NFL Total Access, why all the hype isn't just talk, it's true.
NFL Total Access.
Are we buying it? In Seattle, it's been an off-season of trade rumors, speculation, and innuendo. And yet, Russell Wilson swears he never wanted to leave the Hawks. Special guest Cliff Averill, are you buying it? Plus, with a dominant D and a new quarterback, the Rams could run away with the NFC West. That's a popular theory these days. But Cynthia Freeland, well, she's not buying it, and she's telling us why. This is the home of NFL football. This is NFL Total Access. Welcome into NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz, and in a moment, I'll be joined by the best crew in the biz. Super Bowl champ Willie McGinest, shutdown corner D'Angelo Hall, analytics expert Cynthia Freeland, and special guest Cliff Averill, who will be called into action pretty much right away to help us understand what really went down this offseason in his old stomping ground of Seattle. Russell Wilson at the center of so much talk lately, including rumors he demanded to be traded. Wilson is at mandatory minicamp and tried to put all the drama to rest by reassuring everyone he remains committed to this team.
In terms of the trade talks, I think anytime you play professional sports, there's always a possibility of something happen, right? And I think that's just the reality. I think that there's a lot of teams out there that people were saying that I was going to or would go to. I requested a trade. I did not request a trade. I've always wanted to play here, you know, and the reality is, you know, I think calls were getting thrown around and this and that, and I think that's just a reality. But I think at the end of the day, the real reality is that I'm here, and I'm here to win. And I'm here to win it all.
Cliff Averill was a big part of the Seahawks Super Bowl win over the Broncos. The defensive end got himself a Super Bowl ring and a Super Bowl record by scoring only 12 seconds into that game with a safety. So glad you could join us today. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable between our Pro Bowl defenders, Willie and D. Hall. Now, Cliff, you heard Russ say he's still in a go Hawks state of mind. You know this quarterback. You know this team. How are they reacting to what Russ said?
Well, first off, let's talk about this, right? Because we just heard him say it, right? I did not request a trade. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business, but the man says he didn't request a trade. We haven't heard from him since that interview after the Super Bowl. That's all we can lean on, right? But now we all know, as the guys know as well, once the season gets going, you win a couple games, you know, things get the going. There's no issues. You forget about what happened in the offseason. I think that's where they're at right now. I don't think he has any issues with anybody. He's a professional. He's going to go in there. I'm sure he's had talks with his teammates, the Dwayne Browns, the Bobby Wagners. I'm sure he's had those conversations. Things are cleared up. Once it's go time, people forget about all this, man.
See, Cliff, I'm a little bit nervous, though, because the one thing Seattle has always had going for him is Russell Wilson. He's always believed in those 12s. He's believed in his teammates. And I think now there's a little bit of doubt kind of creeping in, right? If I'm Jamal Adams, if I'm a high-profile, soon-to-be free agent that can lock in a long-term deal here or possibly go somewhere else, if Russell Wilson isn't a part of this football team, I'm really weighing my options like, I don't know if I want to be here, right? Jamal Adams was a guy who was with the New York Jets who couldn't figure out what to do at the quarterback position. And so to come to a team and see how Russell does things, if Russ isn't a part of that, I just wonder when they face adversity in the middle of this season, are guys going to be thinking, well, Russ said he didn't want to be here in the offseason anyway, so maybe he's not as locked in. I don't know.
First off, Jamal Adams, you don't concern yourself with quarterback action, right? Go get your money first and foremost. Seattle, Washington is tax-free, you know what I'm saying? So he's going to be here. We're not concerned about that. Jamal's going to do that first and foremost. But as far as for Russ, though, man, Russ ain't going nowhere. Pete Carroll, John Snyder, Russell Wilson are all tied to the hips. When one leaves, they all leave. And I don't think any one of those guys are leaving. So I don't see anything changing. Russ is going to be their quarterback for the future as well.
Good advice for Jamal Adams. Yeah, get your money. You've outplayed your contract. You led the team in sacks with 9.5. You was a beast. They used you all kinds of ways. Now, on Russell Wilson, I think there was a little bit of fire where all that smoke was coming from in the offseason. And when they started talking about moving him because he wanted more equity and he wanted to have those conversations like we saw in Tampa with Tom Brady, maybe some of those conversations between general managers and teams start happening. So he was like, since y'all talking about it, here's a list. Here's a list of some of the places I would like to go that I think I could go to, be appreciated in the big market, and make some noise. That wasn't happening. Nobody was going to give up the value of what a trade meant to what getting a Russell Wilson. It didn't happen, okay? So like you said, Cliff, he's there. And he also said that's the reality of business. Things like that happen. We've seen it with some of the biggest names in sports, especially at that position. But now that he's there, what they do have to understand is they have to surround him, protect him, and give him equity. Let him have some conversations with people up in management, like we see that's not happening in Green Bay. We see what that quarterback is doing. Make him a part of it. Give him equity. Make it a partnership. He deserves it. He's worked his butt off, and he's done a lot. If he was just a regular pocket passer, that team would look way different, but it's Russell Wilson, so he's put him at a whole nother level.
You know, Cliff, you make an interesting point there, the importance of taking Russ's word